Back of the Pack Ultra Guy here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've got Roy Quinn on. We actually don't know each other, but the universe brought us together at the Cocodona 2023 Eldon Aid Station together. We didn't, in fact, even meet there, but I posted a video recently, and Roy reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm in that video." And I thought, "Oh man, this is way too coincidental not to get us together and have a podcast episode about it." So I'm super excited to dig into Roy and his story. So today we have Roy Quinn on the podcast. Roy, if you wouldn't mind just giving yourself a little introduction, where you grew up, and really how you found running and athletics.
Yeah, sure. That's uh, Mostly spent my entire life in Southern California, uh, and got into running. I'd say junior high. Kind of noticed I was kind of okay at this. My PE teacher just stuck me in races that like none of the other kids got to do, and it's going out
Nice.
and learning the hard way what it feels like to go out too fast because I had zero experience or kind of
Yeah.
coaching at that time, and then kind of fell into it in high school. I played soccer like I think a lot of runners kind of get their start in soccer, and I was an okay soccer player. Um, but didn't get a lot of play time when high school started. Someone said you should do track and cross country, and I was like, "What's that?" And so I did that, and I was on the varsity team as a freshman, and you know actually like learned to really enjoy it, and um, then like I think a lot of high school athletes took a break for a while, gained a bunch of weight, at least I did, and then kind of found my way back to running, and I guess really like started as a way to kind of lose weight and get back in shape and kind of get my health in control, and now it's just spiraled out of control.
You got the health under control, but then the running spiraled out of control.
Yeah, the
I
downward
think most
spiral.
people in this niche sport can relate to that. It just really spirals pretty quick. So when you came back to running after you took the hiatus, about what time frame was that in your life? Like about what age?
Gosh, I think I was in my I'm 44 now. I was in my 30s. I had just gone to like a physical and had blood work done for the first time ever. And they're like, "You've got borderline high cholesterol. You need to change all these things." And it's like, "Oh crap." And so I started, eating healthier, and I was like, I should start running again. And I lived in an apartment at the time and started on one end of the driveway, and like I just got to run to the other end, and I couldn't even get down across the driveway. And I'd run like, I mean, I was a fast 5K racer. Like my high school time was 16:02, and here I am. I couldn't like get, you know, I don't even know how far, a quarter mile without walking, and just built up from that. And I also found fencing, the sport with swords, Olympic fencing, and so I was like, I'll run to keep in shape for that, and I just kind of wanted to find something that wasn't too much of like I got to go to the gym thing. Like I didn't want to go feel like I had to go work out. I wanted to go have fun and then have the exercise be just kind of a byproduct of that. Um, and so I kind of did that, and then um, long story short, hurt myself in a fencing competition. My knee blew up like this big, and I was like, I can't run again. A few years later, probably, gosh, 2016 or so, I had a friend joining the sheriff's academy, and to do that, you have to be able to run like an 8-minute mile or something. He's like, "Hey, you used to run. Could you help me?" And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I can. And so I put a knee brace on and went out with him, and um, he went off to the academy, and I was like, well, this is kind of working for me. I got to keep going. And um, I signed up for my first half marathon and kept running with the knee brace. And one day I forgot the knee brace, and I was like, maybe it's a sign. And I think I've worn it once ever since, and that's been
Wow,
I've been running basically ever since um, that time. That's the last time I took a big break was that injury.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think we can quickly gloss over a fencing accident. I would selfishly, I want to know more about what that entailed. That sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's it was definitely like a newbie mistake, rookie mistake. I had just learned this technique. It's called a flesh attack, which is if you've ever seen like the fencing, like the US fencing logo, it's the figure is doing that move, but it's basically like an all or nothing move where you extend, like if I can get in screen, you extend your arm out, ideally land the touch on your opponent, and then you like swing by and you run past. Well, because I had just learned it, I was really telegraphing what I was about to do, and my opponent was more experienced than me and was kind of like, I can see what you're doing. So he started to move to the side, like you fence in like a little lane basically, um, and he's moved over, and so I twisted my body to still try to hit him, and my knee still went that way, and just
Ooh.
pop, pop, and felt it. And biggest mistake I made at that time was I tried to keep going on it, and then it popped again, and then I was like, I'm done. I got to stop. And luckily, my ex-wife was there, my wife at the time, and she drove me home because we were up in Long Beach, which was a couple hours away. I wouldn't have been able to
Yeah,
drive the car.
especially because I'm about your age, so we all used to drive manuals. So if it was a manual transmission, there's no way you're driving on a bad knee,
Nope.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And I probably, in hindsight, also should have gone to the doctor and got it looked at. I still don't know what I did to it, but uh, I'm guessing like a torn ACL or something. But my brother happens to be a firefighter paramedic. He's like, just do the whole rice thing, like rest, ice, compression, elevation. That's all the doctor's going to tell you anyway. But I probably should have gone in and had an MRI or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? But all's well that ends well.
Yeah, it's worked out so far. If you were at the top of Eldon with
Yep.
me, you definitely it's worked out so far. Well, that's exciting. I can honestly say I've never met a someone who is it fencer? Was that someone who
Uh-huh.
fences? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never met a fencer. This is pretty cool and it's exciting. What an interesting sport. I see these sports in the Olympics and I always go, God, is this still popular? Obviously it is. It's still people doing all these unique sports, and so that's really cool. And then you transition. You didn't transition out of the sport. You have a rest for the injury. Your buddy says, "Hey, you used to run. Help me qualify for the physical at the sheriff's." And then you find yourself at the half marathon. Are you still in California at this time?
Yeah, so I was still in California. I chose the Vegas rock and roll half
Mm,
marathon. 'Cause you get to run on the strip at night, and I was like, it's flat. I could do a flat 13 miles. Um, and it was a lot of fun. I went out. There were a couple of people that I knew that were there that were like all bigger guys, and but they would like some of them would get in shape every year for this race. Some of them would just go out and suffer through it. And they're like, "Don't worry, like you'll finish. Just to keep chugging along." And I smoked all of them. And like they're like, "Who? What? Who is this guy?" Because they kind of met me when I wasn't running, and then
hmm
and I still see one of them every once in a while when I go back to California to visit my parents, and um, he's always just like, "Oh my gosh." Remember when? But so yeah, I did that race, and immediately after, at the time, Rock and Roll was doing. If you finished the full marathon, you got this jacket, which the things that motivate people to do things, right? Like
Right.
like I finished this race, I was like, "Hey, where'd you get the jacket?" Because I thought maybe I was missing mine or something. Or, oh, you have to run the marathon, the full, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that next year," and then I signed up for the San Diego Rock and Roll and did that one. That was my first road marathon. Uh, then I remember being pretty terrified. I trained for it all on my own, didn't know what to really expect. So I was just got to go out slow, keep it easy, because what if I blow up and I can't finish? And at the time, I had been just starting to watch like YouTube videos about ultra running and running, all things running really, but ultra running had just kind of gotten onto my radar. And so I crossed the finish line, and my ex-wife at the time, my wife at the time was there. She didn't want me to run a marathon. She thought it was like dangerous. You know, people die. And I finished, and I was like, she's right there. And I was like, well, I didn't cry, so I guess I'm gonna have to run an ultra. And she's like, no, absolutely not. Put her foot down, and I I don't even know how long it was after that when I was like, so I signed up for this 100 miler. And she's by that point she's like, whatever, have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Get
didn't
life
like,
insurance. Just go do
yeah,
what you're gonna do.
right.
Well, so did you? What was the transition into ultra like? Because I've had a lot of guests that lived in the road scene for quite some time, and then I've had some guests that they just like used road marathons as training for some bigger races in the ultra scene. So what was it like your build up in the ultra world? Did you go straight into the 100 after the marathon, or did you kind of ease into some of these other distances?
Well, so it's kind of funny because I signed up for 100 before I had ever run an ultra. It was
Whoa.
a little, yeah. So before we started, we were talking about like Scott Jurek and stuff, and I went to I I have a second cousin who lives kind of up in LA, and she's like, "Hey, you like running?" Like we had never met in person. We were talking online, and she's like, "Let's go to this event. It's called Born to Run. It's up in the hills of Santa Barbara, and let's do this 10-mile trail run." And I had never done a 10-mile trail run before. I was like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds cool." Like you found a way to get me to say yes. So we go out and you camp there and run. And it's based on the book Born to Run. If you're familiar with the characters in that book. Barefoot Ted is there every year. Luis Escobar is the race director. Um, he was like the photographer that went down into the Copper Canyons. If you haven't read that book, it's kind of one of those you have to read, I think, as a runner.
It's like
But
the ultra marathon Bible, you know. It's
yeah,
like, yeah,
for
you
sure.
got.
So the year I was there, that was that had to be 2018, I guess. Um, the um, big thing was Patagonia was there, and they were doing a film on. They were debuting a film on Scott Jurek. He had just finished his Appalachian Trail
Hmm.
record, his FKT, going north, and he had come out with his book, and so they showed this little like documentary of it, and we all got to see it. But Scott Jurek was there. I got to meet him. Jenny Jurek, his wife, was there. Uh, all these people from the book, and I was just like kind of starstruck. To any average person, like they wouldn't know who they were from anyone else, but in the running world, they're kind of like these A-list celebrities. And so I got to like run a little bit with Scott Jurek, and then I'm there. Like Born to Run is a 10-mile loop, basically. That people just you sign up for XYZ distance, and you're running these two 10-mile loops that just kind of meet at the camp every 10 miles. And I'm like just hanging out and watching these people come through, and like Lewis, the race director, would say, "Oh, that's so and so coming through. He's running 100 miles. Everyone like cheer for him, whatever." And I'd see these people, all shapes and sizes, completing this 100-mile race, and I was kind of just like blown away, like because at the time I had that, oh, if you're a runner, you have this very certain physique, and you're a toothpick, whatever, and I was just like, what? Like that person is running 100 miles, like just blown away, and uh, then Billy Yang is there, the YouTuber, and
Yeah.
I go up to him and I start talking with him, and it's like, hey, like I just want to thank you. Like I think your videos are really like inspiring. Um, he was like, oh, is this your first time here? And I was like, yeah, I just ran the 10 miler, but I think I'm going to come back next year and run the 100. And he was like, here? Like your first 100? Like this is what you're going to pick, basically. I guess like the way my brain works was if you like make it sound like you shouldn't do that, I kind of want to do it. Which gets me into trouble running. I'm really bad with peer pressure, but so I was like, yeah. And so I had volunteered that year, so I got a race credit for the following year, and I signed up for the 100 because it was like the best deal. And then I ran my first 50K. Born to Run's in May. In October, I ran my first 50K, which was in hindsight a really flat 50K, a really flat ultra marathon as far as elevation gain and climbing. And then from there, my friend and I found this 50 miler, the Ray Miller 50 miler in Southern California, and we had signed up for that right before the fires came through and burned the whole area, and so they canceled it. And so my friend Natalie, who's also was going to be her first 50 miler as well, she's like, hey, I found this 100K. It's just a little further, and it's only, well, a little further away from us distance wise, but it's only 12 more miles. Like, what's the big deal, right? And I was like, okay. Well, it turns out this 100K is like a pretty tough one. It's got a pretty strict cutoff because of like the permits. They're only allowed to be out in this park for so long, and it's got a pretty good amount of climbing. It's the San Joaquin River Trail up out of Fresno, beautiful area. And my first DNF, I got to mile 40, and my old knee injury from fencing had like surfaced, and my knee was just getting all swollen. And I made it to the mile 40 aid station, and um, I had just missed the cutoff, and they were like, "What do you need? We're gonna let you go." And I was like, "Oh, you're gonna make me say it." And so I was like, "Listen, like I'm moving really slow. My knee's all inflamed. Like I think I need to just stop here." And so I quit, and then um, that was my progression to the 100. And then I went back to Born to Run and thought I had adequately trained for sleep deprivation and running on tired legs. I had no idea. It was like such an eye-opening experience, and but I did it, and I finished. I took about an hour break where I tried to take a nap in the back of my truck, but all that included, finished in about 32 hours
Nice.
with torrential downpour, like from mile 70 on. Like the mud out there just turns to clay and sticks to your feet. I still have a little PTSD from that. But, yeah, so that was kind of the long-winded way of how I progressed to the 100
No,
is,
that's perfect. That's
you know.
that's perfect. Um, so your first 50K technically was that 100K. Uh, within that 100K? No, you did the flat
Uh,
one first.
yeah, I did the flat one
Yep.
first, and I went out on that one like road marathon pace because it's only 8 more miles, like right? Like I could keep that pace up, and about 8 miles in, I was like, I made a horrible mistake, and was like really starting to hurt. And then I was just like, welcome to ultra running, and this is how you learn and troubleshoot, and just started like trying things at aid stations to get myself moving. And it was in October in Southern California, so it was almost 90 degrees. It was hot out there, and the heat's a little bit of my a little bit of a the bane of my existence when it comes to running. Anyway, like I don't do super well in the heat, uh, but yeah, did it, and then went on to that 100K, and that was my first, I guess, 40 miler.
Nice. So we do the flat 50K, then we have the 105K up in the Fresno area. Then you went back and you smashed the 132 hours, which is good, especially in terrible conditions. That is no fun. I've only had one race that I can think of where it was raining really hard. It was in Pine up in Arizona, and as you were describing that, I was just remembering like every time you pick up your feet, it just like gets heavier and heavier. The mud is deeper and deeper, and so well after that 100, is that still like 2018, 19,
That was 2019, I want to say. Yeah,
2019?
the my first 100.
So how did you find your way to Cocodona from the Born to Run Marathon Ultra?
Um, well, I basically was going to Born to Run every year after my first year there because I was just like blown away at the experience. It's kind of like Javelina, but on a smaller scale, um, and maybe more partying. um, and I mean, they have like a beer mile every single day and all this stuff. But I had gotten into watching a lot of Jamil's videos, like his Mountain Out House and all those like that he used to do. And I can't remember. I think my first Viper race might have been Copper Corridor, um,
Really?
out out in. It was the first year of it. I've run that race every year. I'm a legacy runner. um, uh, you don't get anything for that. I'm just like I really like this area. It's really cool. Um, but then speaking of Pine, I saw a video of the Mogollon Monster, and it's like that looks beautiful. I got to do that race, and that was my first mountain 100. And I just kept coming out to Arizona, like just kind of rediscovering it out here, and like fell in love with running out here a lot. Like it's a pretty good secret that if you're not from Arizona, it's not just all desert and snakes and cactus.
Hmm.
It's There's a lot of terrain that's beautiful, and Flagstaff, where I'm now, is the largest ponderosa pine forest, and um, not a lot of water right now, but it snows, and there's elk, and it's like the trail runner's
Oh yeah,
dream
yeah.
to be up here.
Flagstaff, boy, it's a great area, and even the smaller cities around Flagstaff have really accessible trails and some great terrain all around that area.
Hmm.
It's a fantastic place. What year did you do the Mogollon Monster?
So that was uh, 2021. I want to say it was right after Cocodona. It was the same year as the first year of Cocodona. So was that 2021? I want to
Let's
say.
check.
Um,
You know what? If we look this up and we both did it the same year,
was it
this
the
is gonna.
first year of the point to point?
I, yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's funny. That's the when I did it was the first year it became a point to point instead of a loop.
I think so. Roy, if we did that the same year, this is gonna be the craziest coincidence. Oh, let's see. 2022. I
22.
did it.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think I did it 21.
Okay. Yeah, because when I did the 105K out there, it was the loop. You had to go up and loop around twice, and then come back and go back to the Pine Trailhead. But the year I did it was probably the same course when you did it as well, where you go that 260 trailhead,
Hmm.
start there, and then all the way into Pine. I would say that's probably one of my favorite races
But yeah.
is the
Yeah.
Mogollon Monster.
It's that whole area is it's magical. It's just really amazing. I mean, so much water out there, and like just the climate on the rim out there is, it could be warm and then the rain comes in.
Yeah, especially that
It's
time of the year. I mean, I was just talking to my last guest last week. That's where we met. It was the 105K. I mean, l- everything from lightning strikes right by us to hail one year, terrible rains. That's where I was talking about the mud all over your shoe. Like whoever's doing it this year, just get ready because it's
yeah.
there's always some type of weather that blows in because it's during the monsoon and it's up on the rim. And when I did it, there was terrible hail. It looked like snow. I have pictures and it looked like snow on the ground. It's
I
crazy.
think I have a buddy who dropped that year. It was like he got too cold and just like
Oh,
lost it.
I saw runners with their jackets over their head hiding under trees. It was, yeah, it was that's probably one of my favorite races. Um, but what do I know? I've really only raced mostly in Arizona, so it's not like I'm some world traveler, but it's a great race.
Oh
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I mean, so I saw that and uh, I wanted to do that race. Like, and I had friends saying that's like one of the hardest hundreds in the country. Like, maybe pick another one. Like some people who are like seasoned ultra runners telling me this. And once again, you're telling you're giving me this like maybe don't do that. And
Yeah,
so I'm like, sign up.
yeah.
And
Too
um,
late. I'm already doing it.
yeah, I was the second to last finisher that year.
Nice.
15 minutes to spare. It was 37 hours, 40 something minutes. Like it was the thing that made me not really too mad, but I was like, dang it. Like, a year later, they came out with a video that they had shot before it became a point to point, and they were kind of scouting the course. And there's like a section in that near the end of that video where they're all like, yeah, it should definitely be a 40-hour cutoff for sure, 40-hour. And they kept it at 38. And it's like, man, if it was a 40-hour, I wouldn't have been running scared for like the last 50 miles.
Right.
But maybe that helped me. I don't know.
No, that I love that area, and Pine is such a small, quaint little town. So yeah, I mean we could reminisce on that race the whole time because I love that. There's so much to see up there, and every time you get on the rim, you just look out and you go, oh my gosh, it just never
Right.
gets old looking out over the rim. It's just
Yeah.
amazing up there. So you
Just
did that one in 2021, and then what's next?
so during that race, I'm running like right after the first climb, and I hear these people behind me talking, and one of them is Jamil. I was like, how am I in front of you right now? And he's like, oh, I stopped to pee. I was like, oh, okay. And we just started chatting just a tiny bit. And I was like, yeah, I really want to do Cocodona. And he's like, well, this is good training for it. And Cocodona, like to answer your question that we were getting into, um, I have so much family history in Arizona, and it's like that course was just calling to me when I first, year one when it live streamed and I was watching the kind of making of and all this of that race. I mean, I have like my I might get this wrong, so sorry, mom. My great grandfather or great grandfather was the very first Arizona Ranger, and he's buried in Prescott. He named a lot of like the mountains after family members and things, and
Wow.
um, I have my like I think four of my mom's sisters were born in the hospital on the top of Jerome. That's now the hotel. Um,
Really?
my my grandparents lived in Cottonwood and honeymooned in Jerome when before they had all their kids up there. And then I lived in Sedona. Um, my sister went to high school in Mingus when we lived in Sedona and Mingus Mountain, and I thought the name Mingus Mountain was really cool. So I would always say, one day I'm gonna get married and live on Mingus Mountain. Just like all these like little things that just like it was like just tying it all together for me. Like Flagstaff really wasn't part of the equation too much, except for like sometimes we had to drive up from Sedona um, to Flagstaff to get like if you needed to get a couch or my sister had a dentist appointment or something like that.
Yeah, right, right.
Um,
The big
but
the big city.
yeah, like at the time, especially back then, I think Flagstaff was just kind of like the stopping point when you were on your way to go somewhere else, I think. But um, anyway, like just all of these things, I had no desire to run more than 100 miles. And this race came out, and I was like, I think I have to do that race. And then I was going to sign up for year two of it, and I lost my job. And I was like, I can't justify spending like a mortgage payment when I just lost my job. And I was telling that story to Michael Versteeg, who happened to be at Born to Run that year, and
Wow.
he imparted this wisdom on me. I wish I could like recite it verbatim, but it was basically like like you only live once. It was that kind of message, and I was like, that's it. I'm signing up as soon as it goes on sale for next year. And I was at work at my new job, like I was buying concert tickets, which is now how you have to do it. But back then it was totally pointless. Um, and I might have been one of the first people to sign up for the race, but I was like, I got to sign up now because once I sign up, there's no going back. And signed up, hired a coach, and the rest is kind of history, I guess.
That's so awesome. Yeah, so you met Versteeg at Born to Run. Interesting, because he had just obviously won it the first year,
Huh?
and so you're
Yeah.
probably chatting him up and getting the inside track from him.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
He had
cool.
just done well, we were getting ready to do the beer mile, and he was wearing a luchador, like wrestling mask, and running the beer mile. Just no shirt, his little black shorts, and a luchador mask. But I saw him put it on from a distance, and so afterwards I went up. I was like, "Hey," and we got a little photo together, and he imparted that wisdom. Um, so really, I mean, I don't know. I probably still would have signed up, but I might not have been so like pumped up to like I got to do this like right away, you know, as I was because of talking to him.
Right. Well, that's exciting. Um, I met Michael Versteeg the year I did the Whiskey Man. Aravaipa doesn't do that anymore, but that was a lot of fun. I don't think Jamil watches this, but if you hear this, Jamil, we want the Whiskey Man back.
Bring
It's
it
such
back.
it was so cool. I loved it. Anyway, but Jamil had did a little documentary about it because Michael Versteeg was the first Whiskey Man, and me and my buddy were gearing up to do it, so we watched it. And the third week was the marathon, the Whiskey Row Marathon, and we were at the park right before the start, and he was standing right in the park. And so I went up and said, "Hey, it's nice to meet you. I saw your documentary." And he goes, "What documentary?" And I was like, "The Whiskey Man." He's like, "The Whiskey Man?" And I was like, "Yeah, the race, the Whiskey Man." He's like, I was like, "You know the one Jamil did?" He's like, "Oh, that. Oh, yeah." Why I tell that story is exactly the person you've seen on social media or in the chase or any story you've heard. That is exactly him. He's not out there showboating. He's not all into himself. He's just as this genuinely. He's just a genuine person. Like he's just out there to live life to the fullest. And he wasn't all like, "Oh yeah, that documentary, yeah, wasn't that cool?" He's just like, "Huh? What? Oh yeah, that thing. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about." So it was really cool to visit with him for a minute and kind of, and then you see him. I see him obviously in the chase, and I hear stories like that, and I, just a really down to earth guy. I've always kind of looked up to him in that way, where he's
Yeah.
not all motivated by all this Instagram or whatever other people are doing it for the gram or whatever. He's just out there doing it because he loves it. So I think I've always liked that about him. But anyway, so you got into Cocodona. That see, it was funny because my buddy went to sign up this year, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know if you're going to get in? I was like, you just sign up. He's like, no, it sells out. And I was like, what are you talking about? It sells out. If you just, well, come to find out, from when we did it to the next year, it was like crazy. And then this year was even worse, trying to, because there's just so much. Aravaipa has done such a fantastic job bringing so many people, so much attention to the sport and the way that they live stream Cocodona. And I mean, I have people like reach out to me who aren't runners, have no skin in the game, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to watch Cocodona this year?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but why are you watching it?" They're like, "Yeah, it's so cool," but they've done so good to just open it wide open, and so many people are finding the sport and through the Cocodona live stream. But anyway, you get signed up. I did want to ask you about something because you said the heat was your nemesis or your arch nemesis. I was so worried. Like, this shows you how not much like a lack of a planner I am. But I was so worried about that first beginning to like Lane Mountain, beginning to like Crown King. I was so focused on that. Like, in my mind, I was like, if I could do that, then I'll be okay the rest of the ways. I didn't even have a plan beyond like that first, 55K or whatever it is. So knowing that you don't, like the heat very much, what was your plan there? Like, was that nerve-wracking for you? Because for me, it really was.
Um, Kind of to argue a little bit there, I think making it through that first section is a solid plan. Like,
Oh,
I think a
okay,
lot of
good.
people,
Good job.
I think a lot of people going into it, like, if you can make it up to Crown King, you can finish the race. Like, that's the challenge. The rest is like just flowing. I have some arguments there too, but there's definitely some truth to that, I think. And I did a lot of just running in the heat, and I'd go out in the middle of the day and just like really tried to acclimate to it. A lot more humidity in Southern California, and that's where I was. I moved to Flagstaff into last year from Southern California, and so a lot more humidity there. Um, I think I was almost to that first aid station when you get up into the Bradshaws, the mile 33 or something like that, right before Crown King.
Yeah,
And
Lane Mountain.
okay, Lane Mountain. I couldn't remember if that was what the aid station was called or not, but I was like, oh man, I don't feel good. And I like sat on a rock and just threw up like crazy. People are walking by like, hey man, you good? I was like, living my best life. and and I think it was just like I was so focused on like fueling, like I got to make sure to stay ahead of it because I always get nauseous in the heat, and I didn't want that to happen. I was taking salt and fueling like on every like hour, and um, I think I was putting so much into my body. It was like, no, there's no room for this. It wasn't like processing it, and as soon as that happened, I was like, I feel great, and I just kept going, and I think that second climb, which I did in the dark, but the climb up towards Camp Kippa,
Mm-hmm.
just as hard as that first part,
Oh,
in my opinion. I was just like
yeah.
dying on that section. And everyone kind of just says that first 30 miles, that's the kicker, but add that on to that next section, and it's some pretty rugged climbing out there.
Yeah, don't sleep. I was in the Cocodona Facebook group or whatever I don't know if it's called that, Cocodona Runners or something, and people were all they were talking about they were going to do it this year, and one of them was like, could I wear road shoes from Crown King to Camp Kippa? And I was like, do not sleep on Camp Kippa climb because that thing is just as nasty as what you went through. It is just as bad, and I mean, that was a tough climb because then you've been in the heat all day, and you finally get to the top, and there's snow up there.
Yeah, it gets cold.
Yes, and I'm like, no, please wear your trail shoes, especially if you get any kind of weather. You're just going to be slipping and sliding all down that hill. But yeah, I like how you brought that up because not many, obviously the first 50K gets a lot of credit and recognition, and it's tough, and I'm not saying it's not, because it is. But Camp Kippa, in my opinion, that climb up there, that's really rough. And I think a lot of people also sleep on the Jerome to Dead Horse and Jerome to Sedona section, because that is hot. Depending on when you hit that, you're going to be really hot and fully exposed the whole time.
Right. Yeah. I um I was climbing down. I slept like my longest, I think at Mingus, and like like a couple hours. I think actually had like a pretty solid nap, and then um, climbed down from Mingus uh, right at daybreak, and was doing that long traverse into Jerome, and it just got hotter and hotter and hotter. And I had my crew at Jerome waiting for me, and back of my legs were all sunburnt, and I was just like pissed off. And I'm like a really level-headed person. I'm always very calm, and I was just like so angry. I was like, can't believe I let my legs get sunburned. And then you have that descent down from Jerome that's like broken glass. You know what I'm
Yes,
talking about? I'm like,
yes.
what is this? And I was
Yeah.
just so angry the whole way, and I was like overheated. I got to Dead Horse, and I just like put like a wet towel on my forehead and was like drinking a cold drink and eating, and I just like really tried to reset there because I was in such a bad mental place. And my coach is Pete Mortimer, um,
Hmm.
who was second year one of Cocodona, and he was like, "Oh, you're really gonna love that run from Dead Horse to towards Sedona. Like it's such a runnable section, really nice." And I really wanted to enjoy that section because he'd been talking it up, and so I thought I was good, got out, and immediately was like, I gotta take a nap. And I just like curled up under like a cactus and like just like took like a 15-minute nap, and then got up and ran most of that section to
Nice.
something horse right before you start into
Yeah,
Sedona.
Dead Horse.
Not Dead Horse, but or might not be Horse. Iron, they're all starting to fade.
Yeah, because I know
Um,
Dead, at least
then
this last.
the aid station right before you head to Sedona. But you,
Oh, because there
it's
was
not
the one that's in the right next to the Tuzigoot, um, coming out of Cottonwood. There's that one, and then the next one is Dead Horse after that,
yeah,
and then it's
Dead
Sedona.
Dead Horse was like in Dead Horse Park, right? And then you run that section, and it's the very next one.
Oh, it's slipping my mind too.
It always happens to me. But then I got to that one in the dark. It just gotten dark, and I was picking up a pacer. It was my buddy Kevin, who actually lives out here, uh, and I was just excited to see him. Like we started climbing up the towards like the airport or whatever in Sedona, and we're just chatting and just having a good time. And he stops and he's like, "Have you eaten anything lately?" And I was like, "Oh." and,
No.
and so I was like, I started eating some stuff I had in my pack, and that section, I feel like if you could just go in a straight line to was it Posse Grounds in Sedona, it would take you 30 minutes maybe, but instead like you got to do this to get there.
Oh yeah, they rap and rap and rap.
Yeah. And I was just like, when is this gonna end? And that was like my lowest point, I think, of the whole race. And I think in hindsight, it was because I bailed on my nutrition and I got like really low. Um, and I was just like zombie walking through the streets of Sedona at like 3 in the morning, and I ended up sleeping at the aid station there. At that time, they were talking about you had to have all this cold weather gear just to leave Sedona because I forget who it was, but one of the front runners, they were saying it took him an insane amount of time to get up into like the Munns Park area, and it was going to be really cold, and it ended up being inaccurate information. But I was sleeping there, and I called my wife, who was my crew captain, and was like, "Hey, I need my all this stuff. Can you come meet me at the aid station?" And so she rounds the corner. I'm sitting there eating a hamburger patty wrapped in pancakes. Which was amazing. And like I gave all these other people ideas. Um, and I'm eating it, and she rounds the corner, and I see her like with all this stuff for me, and I just started bawling. And I'm not a crier. Like I don't cry at anything. Like people say I have no soul and joke and this and that. But she's like, "Whoa, are you okay?" And I was like, "This is just the hardest thing I've ever done." Like just having a meltdown, and she just kind of was like one of the reasons I was afraid of having her as my crew captain was that she might be too easy on me, like just stop, like you're in pain or whatever. But instead, she just gave me like some tough love, like snap out of it, like go on, you gotta go. And then this other like ultra runner who was like ended up being like this kind of fast dude, like he pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey man, so you're getting emotional over there, and just want you to know it's all right, and like that's why we do this stuff." And I was like, "No, but you don't understand, I'm not a crier." Like I'm actually like kind of excited. And um but yeah, that whole section, like,
It's a tough section.
yeah, it tests you for sure.
But I think what one thing, Roy, that at least for me was when I hit that at night coming into Sedona, the trail, the course that they weave you on, it teases you the whole time because you see the lights of Sedona the whole time.
Right,
And so you're
yeah,
just like, this is never ending. It's just up and down and up and down and up. And you finally just go, when are we ever even going to get close to this thing? And then all of a sudden you just drop right into the city. And you're like,
right,
oh,
yeah.
okay, okay, we're here, okay.
How
But
many
yeah,
times are you
for
going to cross
sure.
this wash? I swear
Yeah.
I've been here before. Yeah, for sure, it messes with
Start
you.
leaving breadcrumbs. You're like, I knew I came through here.
Yeah.
So did you hit Kasner going up out of Kasner the climb in the day then?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Which
nice.
amazing. Yeah, it's
It's
such a, I mean,
beautiful.
it's now I think they do the hangover trail instead, or they don't do the same climb, I don't think, but
Yeah, I did Sedona Canyons last year, or this past year, and I would take Kasner climb over the Hangover Trail any day of the week, any moment of my life, because that Hangover Trail is nasty.
yeah. I've done
Because
that
Kasner,
on
you just go
fresh
straight
legs.
up,
Right.
and then you're out. But then the Hangover, you're just weaving, and you can't. It's beautiful though. I mean, it's gorgeous, but still, it's very. I'd take Kasner back if we could.
Yeah, I really uh, out of like all the climbs, like the Mingus climb, I did that in the dark, and I loved it. Like I was having so much fun climbing that section for whatever reason, with the most miles I'd ever put on my legs in one go.
Hmm.
Um, and that Kasner climb, like I was just like I had like some maybe it was the pancake burgers,
Hamburger.
which I took a few to go. She's like the aid station volunteer was like, "You want a couple to go?" I was like, "Yes." Uh, I just loved that climb so much. Like I was having fun going up it, and part of it too. And I had said this when I was like walking out to like change my clothes at my truck at the aid station in Sedona. You like walk out of the aid station, you see the mountains and everything. And I've used to live in Sedona. I'd seen it before, but at that moment, I was like, well, maybe if I would have seen how beautiful it was last night, it would have been better. And my wife was like, "Shut up! You're seeing it now." And I was like, "Oh yeah." But yeah, they're just beautiful. The section there, when you're on your way to the Kasner climb, there's, gosh, I'm so bad with like remembering names and things.
The Oak Creek Canyon when
The
you're
the bridge right there,
yeah.
um, that you go under down into Oak Creek Canyon. Um, that's a really touristy spot. Like a lot of cars stop there, and there were these people walking out and going the opposite direction of the bridge of going towards, and like, hey, is it nice back here? Is it worth going further? And I was like, I don't know, my eyes were closed the whole time, and they were like, uh, you
Yeah,
know,
get this guy a chair.
what's going
Get
on?
him.
Like, but I was kind of like, doing, I, we talked a little bit about, I'm a run streaker, so I run every day, but, during Cocodona, I had to make sure that every calendar day I ran at least a mile. And, so that section leaving Sedona, I was like, get my streak in, doing good. And like, you get these like bursts of energy and then all of a sudden it's gone again. But, um,
Well, I do want to touch on that run streak because I've seen you mention it on Instagram, and I did want to ask, kind of wrap up with a Cocodona story because I was telling someone, look, this was months ago, but I was telling someone about the Mount Eldon climb and then getting to the top of Eldon, and I was telling them how cold and windy it was, and they were kind of looking at me like, "Oh, he must be telling like a fish story, right? Like it's now worse type effect." I remember it was the wind blowing so hard for you? Like I felt like if I didn't have both feet on the ground, like walking really like methodically, it was gonna blow me over.
yeah, they're, backing up just a little bit because you reminded me of this. The the kind of like long road into Fort Tuttle, going in at night. It was cold, really cold in that section. And there was this guy in front of me with shorts on in the dark, like shorts, and he had like a rain poncho. And he's zigzagging around and talking to himself. And I was like, oh, is this like is this safe to approach this guy? And I go up next to him, and I'm in like winter gear, right? And I've got like those hand warmers in my pockets, and I was like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And he was like, "It's just so cold," and I was like, "Whoa!" And I thought he was running the 250. He was running. It was the first year of canyons. He was running
Yeah.
the 125, which still amazing, but I was like judging him more because I thought he was running the 250 and that's how he was dressed. And um, anyway, I gave him my hand warmers. I was like, "Here, man, take these." And he's like, "What are those?" I was like, "Hand warmers." He's like, "Oh, thank you," and just started crying. And we got to the aid station at Fort Tuttle, and everyone coming in was like, "There's this guy out there. You got to pull him off the course. He's underprepared and like it's dangerous and blah blah blah." And I knew exactly what they were talking about. And then we're approaching Eldon. I had slept at Walnut Canyon during kind of the heat, and then we were like moving great, like me and my pacer to Eldon. And I never got his name, but he's always going to be hand warmer to me. Like, there's hand warmer, and he's in his shorts and everything. And I was like, oh, he's still going. And I was like, hey man, you're doing good. He's like, oh, you're the guy that came with the hammer. I was like, yeah. And we started climbing up, and we climbed up Eldon into the dark, as because we were in the aid station at the same time. Uh, I just like it's getting colder and colder, and like we finally stopped and put our warm clothes on. You hit a little patch of snow here and there, and I turned to my pacer and I was like, "Hand warmer is going to die." Like I
Yeah.
legit had that concern. Like I really thought he wasn't going to survive that climb with the wind and the cold and everything. And we got up there, like got warm in the aid station and kept going. And then the next morning, I went over for the golden hour, which we kind of got robbed of that year. But there he is at the finish line. And I was like, dude, you made it. I can't believe it. I thought you were going to be gone. And he was like, thank you so much for those. Anyway, like I should have got
Did
his.
you catch his name?
No, I should. I was just gonna say I
Oh
should have
my
got his
gosh! Like
name because like he's just like this integral part of the race
yeah.
memory for me. Um, but yeah,
That's
that
so
that
awesome.
section up there, and I've climbed Eldon a lot since I've been here again, and since I've moved here, and a couple of those times in the snow, and like you get up right around like before you summit, and you can just hear that wind just ripping through there. It's like it's some serious wind up there. Um, and there was that snow. I was like one foot in front of the other with my poles, like I was summiting Everest or something when I was doing Cocodona.
Well, I tell you, it was so. My dad was pacing me at that point, and shout out to my dad. He's 76 now. He was probably 74
Awesome.
then. And I looked at him and I was like, "Was it really that cold?" Like a couple weeks later, he's like, "Oh, it was so cold. It was so cold and windy." And that's, I posted that silly video of me sleeping on the live stream. Well, I was freezing and I just got in that warm tent and just instantly passed out. Like it was instantaneous, just pass out, mouth open, drooling. My bladder in my bag was leaking because I was leaned up against this
Oh,
chair. I mean, I was just out because it went from that extreme cold to that really warm tent. Pete's Meats, shout out to Pete Mortimer, coach
yep.
and amazing barbecuist, if that's a word. Yeah, what a great aid station. I remember there was a guy up there, and they said, "Hey, what do you want?" And he goes, "I'll have a beer." And so they gave him a beer, and he just drank it super fast. He's like, "Can I have another?" Like, and
Oh
he did it.
man.
And I was like, "To the finish. Do not get too drunk because you're not gonna make it off this mountain." And he didn't ask for a third, or I don't remember it. Maybe I was asleep by that point, but I do remember him having two, and we were all just gnawing on ribs up there. I mean,
Yeah.
that moment in time will always be such a very fond memory for me. It was so fun. I had my dad there with me, and just everyone was laughing. This is before I, really zonked out. But yeah, that was such a fun memory. And so when you reached out to me on Instagram and were like, "I was there," I was like, felt like it was an old fraternity friend. I was like, "Oh, we got to talk about this," because it
Yeah.
was such an integral part of that race for me, and it's such a great memory. So, what you left obviously while I was sleeping. You can see it in the video. You can zip out. Uh, when you were going down, this was one of the when you talk about a low point for me. This was actually my lowest point of the race. Was going down Eldon. My feet were so swollen and so messed
Oh.
up. Just that constant banging of my toes in my shoes. And I remember one point I was really positive. I had a coach a long time ago. He always beat the drum of be positive. Thank volunteers. Be positive to the racers. It will help your race. And I was like nailed that all the way up into this point. And I finally just like yelled out. I was like, "Oh my God!" I was just in pain. I was so mad. But when you got to the bottom and they like I thought I was home free, like once you got to the bottom. And then they put you in that dang river bottom, the riverbed, and you start doing this in the riverbed. And everyone's got their phone out staring at their phone because no one can see a flag.
Right.
What was that section like for you? Because for me, I was just like, I'm done. I'm done with this race. I just got to finish. And it just felt like it never ended. You weave through there.
Yeah, I think so. I had similar difficulty going down Eldon Lookout Road. Like something in my leg was just like in pain, and that grade was just the right amount of grade to just like hurt. And um, my friend Kevin, who was pacing me, he's the one that experienced my low through Sedona.
Mm,
So this whole time from Walnut Canyon to the finish, he paced me. He's telling me stories and like just really trying to like help keep my mind on occupied and make sure I was eating and all that good stuff. So we got to that riverbed, and he was like, "Oh man, it's I can't believe we're going through here right now. It's like so wrecked. Like there had been like a storm that had gone through there. Like you could see all the
yeah.
trees were down and things. And but then he was like, "Oh, I've seen like Jim Wamsley run through here," and I'm like, "No way, cool!" And so he was distracting me a lot there.
Nice.
And then we got to like Buffalo Park, and that might have been my first time ever at Buffalo Park. And he's like, "Yeah, this is Buffalo Park. A lot of people run here," and I said, "Where are all the buffalo?" It's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but I think
That's a
that
natural
like,
question. If it's called
yeah,
Buffalo Park, you're like, where's all the buffalo?
yeah, I wanted to see some buffalo. I don't know. But backing up to Eldon, to your point too, like I feel like when everyone gets to that aid station, they kind of know like I made it. Like I'm going to finish this thing. Except for like if you're like really chasing the cutoffs, maybe like you gotta skedaddle. But when you have a little bit of a window and you're up there, it's like, okay, I can do this, you know? And so everyone's just got this like runner's high going on, and like everyone's super excited and happy, and it's like the second life is breathed into all the runners, and so just that energy like carried me through a lot of that section too. I think getting down, and then like you get down to the streets, and it's like I've watched this on the live stream, and now I'm
Yeah,
in it. Like this is so crazy, you know.
it's so awesome. Well, Roy, I'd like to talk about that run streak. You know, we could probably talk another 2 hours about Cocodona. It's just
For sure.
such a special experience, and you know, family, friends are all around you at the finish, and even people who do it solo, all the people around. I mean, it's just such a special experience. But so I don't want to take away from that, but I do want to focus on this run streak because coming from somebody who is consistently not consistent, I would love to pick your brain on the run streak because you got Andy Glaze out there doing all these big run streaks, and I have a few other acquaintances in the community that are on run streaks, and they post about it. It's always so impressive to me. So could you speak on that for a little bit? Because I really would love to hear the ins and the outs of it. It seems pretty difficult, to be honest, at least for me.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly why I started. I kind of started streaking organically, like meaning I didn't know that a run streak was a thing when I started. Um, but I had major willpower like challenges when I was really first starting to get back into running and training for like my first half marathon, and then I think I started my streak. Um, yeah, it was when I was training for my first marathon, technically, I guess, but or after 2017, September 1st, 2017. I'm coming up on my 8 year anniversary here on Labor Day.
My gosh.
But I would wake up in the morning, like set my alarm to go for a run, and I'd just been, I'll run after work. And then after work, I'm like, I'll run tomorrow. And then 3 days later, I'm finally going out for that run I was supposed to do on Monday, you know. And then I had joined a couple of running clubs, and there just happened to be this week in September where I accidentally ran every day for 5 days in a row, which was kind of like a big deal for me at that point. And I was like, dang, I just like I've had something going on every day. Like I wonder if I could do like a month. Like I wonder if I could do 30 days in a row. And I did 30, and then um I was like, well, maybe I could do 60. And then I was going out for my last long run before my second marathon, road marathon. And um, I was listening to a podcast, and I forget which one it was, but they were talking about run streaks. I was like, wait, these are a thing? And then they said, like, for it to count as a run streak, you have to run for a year. And I was like, I guess I'm going for a year. And so
Interesting.
for to be considered, like there's like an official website and everything for streaking, and for it to count, you have to run at least a mile every day for a year. And so my I always tell people my only goal was 30 days, and here we are. But it's really helped with my willpower. Like it's just such a non-negotiable for me now. It's probably the thing I look forward to most every day is getting my run in. And I run a lot more than a mile. Like my first year, I kept the mile as like my rest day, and then I switched to at least 2 miles every day for my streak was my minimum anyway. And I kept that mile for like if I was sick or injured, because you can get through a mile, even if you're just slogging and had influenza, COVID a couple of times. I had a pretty serious injury in my hip that I ran through, all just cutting back to that mile. And not saying it's the smartest thing in the world to do, but it's just what has worked for me. My coach doesn't like it. It makes him nervous that I don't have an actual rest day.
Yeah.
My rest day now is 30 minutes in zone one of my heart rate, which um, is, I feel like that's sufficient. Like I get a good,
That's good active recovery. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Pete. I'm not trying to go against you.
uh, but yeah, I don't. I mean, like it kind of like I started posting on Instagram with the run streak just to like as my accountability piece. Like people will want to see that I'm posting, and if I don't post them, maybe they'll wonder why. I don't think actually really many people care, but in my head, I was like, it'll keep me
Yeah. No,
accountable because
yeah, because you're knowing, hey, I'm putting this out there,
right.
and maybe it's just one person, right?
Yeah, it's
Or
like if you tell someone what your goal is, they might check in on you, kind of thing. It's like that kind of mentality, um, and so that's kind of how I started, and it just kind of it's still going.
I
Um,
love it.
yeah, yeah, it's been probably one of the best things I could have done for my overall well-being. I think for my health, running just in general, running is so good for you, but exercise for your mental well-being, all those things. It's been, not saying you have to do a run streak, but for me it really
Right.
is just it just fit.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it was a perfect timing thing. That it fell in your lap, perfect timing in the right. What I mean by that is the right time in your life where you were really wanting to focus on running and you were overcoming that willpower issue that we all have,
Right.
and me included. I might be the king of that some days. Uh, but I think that's important to talk about because I think that at least when I started in ultra, I would look up to all these other ultra people. I mean, not like professionals, but just other people that I started meeting, and I was like, gosh, they're just perfect, right? They're always motivated, they're always doing everything right, and then you get to know them, and you're like, no, no, they're not. But that's one thing I do like about Andy Glaze and a lot of these guys, yourself, that are posting these kind of things, is because it makes you go, that's what I need to be doing. I've really got to be more consistent, and that's a big piece. The ultra and consistency go hand in hand. That ultra training and that consistency, and the times I felt the best about my training, obviously consistency was king.
Right.
So you may be inspiring me to. Now I didn't know it was a year, so I'm gonna simmer on that, but I might be starting a run streak because I think that would be a good fun thing to get me kick-started for some races I have coming up.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely helps with the multi-day stuff too, because you
oh
gotta
yeah,
like um there's been like uh I mean, 8 years, it's like crazy that I've been going at it this long, but there was just a woman who just retired her run streak that started the year I was born. It's like 45 years of running every day.
holy
So
cow,
there's some really crazy stuff out there. It's just,
jeez,
the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper.
oh man, that she's good.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to form a phrase of what I'm even thinking about. I can't even. That's insane. Well, kudos to her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, Roy, it's getting late, and I really wanted to thank you for jumping on. I mean, this has been so much fun. I meant that when I said I felt like I was getting in touch with some old college buddy or something, you know. And as we visited, that connection of the Cocodona race is really true. I mean, I've met random people, and you just have this instant connection with it, and it is such a special thing. One of the things I do with my guests is to thank them for coming on, is I send them a gift from Death March Running Company. So when we get offline, I'll obviously don't tell me your address on over the internet, but I'll get that from you offline and I'll send you something. And as a side note, I'll be up in Flagstaff on the 30th to do an in-person interview. So maybe we can all get a run-in when I get
Yes,
up there.
definitely.
We'll do
Let's
the
get to run.
run streak in Flag. I love it.
Awesome.
So I'll hit you up and let you know those details as well. I think that'd be fun to I'd like to introduce you to this guest too. He's a special guy. So anyhow, again, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time and visiting with me on Instagram. So I really appreciate it. But before we do drop, is there anything else you wanted to share? Give a shout out to somebody or any last words, so to speak?
I just was gonna say, even if I didn't consciously, I know I looked at you sleeping in that chair in that aid station, and I was jealous of the amazing sleep you were getting. Uh,
Oh man, I was knocked out.
oh yeah, it's just like, oh, I wish I could do that right now, but I'm sure that thought was in my head, even if I
Yeah,
didn't come to fruition. But no, yeah, thank you for having me. It was just like I said, I recognized that clip, and I was like, wait, I think I'm in this clip because Chris Warden's talking, and I was like, I know
yeah,
those words, and hey, wait, that's me. So
it's
it's
so
just
cool.
pretty awesome, and yeah, I'd love to get some running in with you when you're up here.
Be a
So
blast. Yeah,
um,
we'll connect offline and I'll share the details with you and you can send me over a good mailing address and I'll get that sent out to you.
awesome, thank you so much. That's
You
cool.
bet. Well, Roy, thank you so much again. This has been so fun, such a pleasure, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Roy.